Hello and welcome to Thermomixing Adventures. My name is Lisa and today we're making a Polish Christmas cake. Now I've got to say, never made one before, and I love that with the Thermomix there are more and more recipes that we can continually learn and get inspired and cook. So let's get straight started on this recipe. There is an ingredient in here that you will need to make first, and that is actually just a Christmas spice mix. It is on Cookie Doo, type it in, find it, and you can see I've actually made it already. That was what I did at the beginning. It's a whole lot of spices that if you are a seasoned Thermomix user, you probably have in your cupboard already. Once you've got that, you can just use your bowl that's dirty with the spice mix to actually continue on. Now I did take the quantity out because I'm not sure how much it weighs, so we'll do that in a moment and we can kind of talk through that process. First things first is some unsalted butter, 125 grams. I'm gonna guess, no, I obviously can't work out my maths, that's a little embarrassing. That must be 550, no 250. Whew, let's go backwards. There we go, getting closer, one more out. That'll do, 130 grams. All right, 130 grams of butter in it goes. Next up, we need some dark brown sugar. Now, those of you who've been watching along for a long time, you know I don't have brown sugar in my house or icing sugar. We use raw sugar and we make it into everything. And we actually buy it organic and 5 kilos at a go. So hence the very big container. When you're feeding 6 of us, it's so much more economical to buy things in bulk, especially if you are trying to buy, organic and things like that. So in this goes. For those of you who are wondering, and you're in Australia, Honest to Goodness is the company that I buy through, and then they ship it to me, which is pretty cool. And we just do that a couple of times a year. So we get everything in bulk. We put it in the fridge and freezer to kill anything that might be there in it, and then ready to go. So that's how it goes. Okay, close enough there, good enough. Honey, similarly, we buy in bulk. Now we don't do honey, we use rice malt predominantly. Honey's set aside for if somebody's sick with a sore throat, then we use that. But rice malt's our preferred liquid sweetener. You can also use maple if you prefer. Anything that's runny will work. All right, 250, it's a fair amount of honey. Now this is a really interesting recipe because it actually makes a dough. So, close. We're actually going to need this at the end, and it is something you'll need to make in advance. It's not something you can make on the day, because it actually has 4 days before you can do much with it. So hang out with me and I'll show you how. 2 eggs, in they go. What I do love though is the quickness in the Thermomix and then the amazing final product. Like, it just looks phenomenal. Christmas spice mix, here we go. Let's see how much this made. It smells amazing, by the way. Cloves, peppercorns, cinnamon, even some savoury ones like your coriander was in it, and your cardamom. Alright, so there's not much of that left, okay? So if you're making that up with that batch, you do need to keep it aside. Don't use it all in the recipe. Alright, on with our lid. And let's mix this together. 10 seconds on speed 4. So what drew me to making this recipe was actually the beautifulness of it, that it's just so pretty with the ganache and then the beautiful stars on it, which I'm going to do with icing sugar. I've actually saved some icing sugar up the back here, particularly for dressing the cake at the end. Okay, plain flour. Again, those of you who've been on with me for a while, you know that we use baking powder for everything, the stuff you use for bread, and we just convert it. I haven't tried this with gluten-free and I don't think it would work, okay? These Christmas recipes, I'm sorry gluten-free friends, I haven't tried them gluten-free. I wasn't game enough to give that a go. I think being that this is a dough that has to knead, you'd have to buy a specialist bread mix that's gluten-free to be able to make it work. It wouldn't just work with a swap with a standard GF flour. All right, 500 grams of plain flour, in it goes. Close. I love baking with Thermomix because it's so clean. Like, we really don't have those measuring cups and things like that. We do have the occasional spoon. This is bicarb soda, 2 teaspoons. But otherwise, besides those teaspoons, which you guys know I just literally use teaspoons, you don't have the extra washing up of all those spatulas and measuring cups and stuff. On with the lid, and now this is going to knead for 2 minutes. And I'll come back in 2 minutes. We're going to put it in our thermomat and we'll come back shortly. See you soon. Okay, this smells amazing. Let's have a look in there. So it says now to place the dough in a bowl, cover with plastic wrap and refrigerate for 3 hours. Now I've got my Thermo mat, okay? You can get these from posting a demo or go to the Thermomix mix shop and you can purchase a set of these. And we're gonna actually prove it in there, and it has to chill. It has to chill until firm. So it's actually I'm trying to think what it resembles. It's not a scone mix. It's certainly not a bread mix. It's too flaky for a bread mix. Let me just spin this around and you'll kind of see what I mean. There we go. So, curious to see how this goes. We make really fine layers that beautiful icing goes between. It's nearly like a biscuit texture. That's to me what it reminds me of is biscuits. So I'll be curious to see how this turns out, and I'll give you a bit of a review on whether I think it's amazing enough that you should make it for your Christmas this year. I reckon you should, but let's just check first. Let's give it the thumbs up by the family. So I'm going to get this all out, and then I'm going to put it in the fridge for the 3 hours, and I will come back and show you how to continue on with this recipe. So we'll see you soon. Okay guys, welcome back. It's been like 4 and a bit hours, and the dough mix was in the fridge. And then I got it out. It told us to divide it into 3 portions and then put it between baking sheets. Now the baking sheets, they said, trace a line on there that was 30 centimeters by 24 centimeters, and then put a spare bit on top as well, and actually roll out your dough. Now I've got one here that's about to go in the oven. It's not cooked yet. I've got 2 behind me that are cooked. It is quite fine, it's thin, which I've got a few tips for you on that. So when you are rolling it out thin, the biggest tip I've got is to get a straight edge on something. Actually grab, so you may not be able to see from that far, but there's a pencil line on there. Actually lift it up and tuck your sheet around the line you want to be flat, and then use your roller, pick this one up here, to actually press it out flat. Now I do this with my crackers as well. I actually edge my crackers so I get nice straight lines in the exact same manner. Then pull it out, flatten it back down, and go do another side. Okay, that's a really easy way that once you've got it quite big, and you can have it a big oval shape, it doesn't matter. A little tip, try and get it to the corners though. Then you fold it in and then flatten out your sides. Okay, and just do one side at a time and work around. Then you only end up usually with one messy corner. Once you've done that, you then peel off the top layer, and then you're putting it on a tray, and it's going into a 180-degree oven for 12 minutes. So it's super quick. It's not very long. And I'll show you the final product of that, because I've cooked the other 2. So this then goes on to an inverted tray, which is a little different. I'm not sure why. And you end up with this. Okay, so this is the one that's just freshly come out. It's beautiful. It's quite wafer-like, I guess you could say. And then I'll just put that back over there. You can see how rigid, I mean, you probably can't see it. It kind of holds its form. And then this one's going to go on, and that's going to go in for 12 minutes, okay? Now, this recipe, we're now going to just move on to doing the sour cream filling, because what actually happens is we assemble this, and then it has to sit 4 days in an airtight container to actually allow that sour cream gelatin mix to flavour through the wafer layers. Before then, an hour before serving, we make the ganache. So I will come back tomorrow and show you the ganache, but I want to get this step done. Now in the Thermomix, what I've got in there is 50 grams of lemon juice and 3 teaspoons of gelatine as per recipe. It said to soak for 5 minutes, and then it cooked it. And it cooked it for 2 minutes, 60 degrees, speed 2. Now it says to place in a bowl and set aside. Perks of having a second bowl is I can just put the second bowl in. Now I milled down my icing sugar already for this next step, and I know that that's okay. It's going to go into this first part, so I knew it was okay to do so. By the way, having a second bowl, have I mentioned? Amazing. Okay, clean and dry the mixing bowl. Insert the butterfly whisk. In this goes. Next, place 700 grams of sour cream. Okay, in this goes. So sour cream, in it goes. Try and evenly distribute it in there, a little bit on either side, so that it whips up nicely. Oh, I like how it's coming out so easily. Nearly there. In this goes. Now the next thing is mascarpone. Now I don't have that because our local shop has been out of that for a long time. So I'm just going to use cream cheese. There we go. So, don't let that stop you making it. Cream cheese is an okay replacement. A little different, but okay. 250 grams of that. So I've just cut it into chunks with my spatula. It's actually quite soft because we're so hot here today at the moment. And then we're going to add, I think it's the 40 grams of sugar, which I milled down first. And let's do this, 20 seconds, speed 3. Always stay near your Thermomix for the first few parts of your butterfly whipping because of the movement. Oh, there we go. Now it says to add the gelatine mixture to the lid. So that's going in now. You can see how it's shaking my table more because it's actually thickening up considerably. Okay, there we go. I don't know if you noticed, I did a bit of a sneaky there. I actually quickly leant in and grabbed that and extended the cook time. So add the gelatine, we did that, remove the butterfly whisk, pour into a bowl and set aside until needed, clean and dry the mixing bowl. So now to assemble, you actually put all your layers together. As I made mention, I'll show you with the first two. Obviously the third one is not yet cooked, however it's trying to slide off the tray. So you spread with half the filling, repeat with another cake layer filling, and then finish with an inverted cake layer. So you actually then invert them upside down to put them on top of each other. Now after that period of time, you're covering well, refrigerating for a minimum of 4 days, and then you ganache it. All right, so I will show you the ganache part, but let me just show you. This one is the other one that's quite cool. Now they do say trim it later, so don't stress if it's not perfect, okay? So, oh, it looks amazing. We want half this mix here. So I love having the butterfly in there. I can it helps me divide it up. So in it goes. Now I won't put the top on because obviously the other part's not cooked yet, but I will put the middle layer in. So out to the sides. It's not a thick layer. If you look at the images of the cake, you can see it's quite thin, quite delicate looking, and obviously well set by the time 4 days has come as well. So pushing it out to the sides without trying to drag it around. And you do get that chance to firm it up as well, remember. Firm it up. Neat in the sides, that's the word I'm after, when it has firmed up. That's the words I'm after. So here we go, out to the edges. Remember, you don't have to go all the way out because as you put your top layer on, you can compress it just slightly and it will ooze out, which is perfectly fine. You kind of want a bit of ooziness anyway. So just the corners though do go out close to the corners. They don't ooze as much because they're diagonally out. All right. So then, there's a bit of a thin patch there. I want to patch up. There we go. So, that is now covered. The other cooked layer is here, off the baking paper. Actually, it's a little warm still, so I won't put this on yet. I will not put it on. This one goes upright, but remember your last one flips upside down, inverted on top. Okay, so I will finish putting this together once this is cool. I need to get the other one in the oven. I'll assemble it, I'll take a photo of it, but we will be back tomorrow because I'm going to show you how to make the most amazing ganache. Actually, not tomorrow, 4 days. 4 days, okay? I'm going to come back in 4 days, but for you it'll be the magic of videos where it'll be just in a second, and I'll show you then how we do the final ganache so that you can do this at your family gathering this year for Christmas or any occasion you want to, really. As much as it's a Polish Christmas cake, any occasion this would be absolutely amazing. And it's so nice, I find at this time of year, to make something a little bit different that I normally wouldn't ever, you know, put into my daily, everyday cooking. So I hope you're being inspired. I hope you'll give this a go, and when you do, I can't wait to see it. But otherwise, I'll return shortly and show you 4 days time how to ganache this. So we'll see you then. Hello, welcome back. So the beautiful Polish Christmas cake has been in the fridge chilling for a couple of days now. I actually think you could get away with chilling it for just a couple of days rather than 4 days. I actually trimmed mine down on about second day And I reckon at that stage it was actually probably chilled enough and kind of infused enough that you could easily enough chop it apart and it doesn't flake, it's fine. Okay, but I think the idea behind the 4 days is it actually lets it set really hard, that gelatin set, let the cake dry a little bit so that it's easy to cut. Now, we're gonna make the ganache. I've started by following the instructions, which, you know, guided cooking makes it so easy. 200 grams of dark chocolate broken into pieces. Actually, just back step one. It makes mention here, this is a great cake, as I've said already, for doing it ahead of time and having all the components just sitting there ready. Okay, because this says start making the ganache an hour before serving, because you want to allow it an hour to thicken up before you pour it over the cake. So then it says 200 grams of dark chocolate, insert the measuring cup, and then you mill it down 10 seconds on speed 8. You can see I've actually done it, and then it says to scrape down the sides. Now, by the way, I use 90% dark chocolate here, but use whatever you like to use. Scrape down the sides, and then add 160 grams of pouring whipping cream. In this goes. And then it's going to cook up and make this beautiful silky ganache for the top. If you've not made ganache in your Thermomix, give it a go. It is next level amazing. There's a chunk of cream in there. It's going to become too heavy if it falls out. There it is. Let's see if I can get it out without the whole lot coming out. So after we've done this, it just cooks, and then we let it chill for that 1 hour. Let's see if I can get that out without making... Yes, I can. There we go. You do want to stick close to weights on this because you are looking for a liquid, a thickened chocolate really, that is pourable still. So if you go too heavy on the cream, you're not going to let it set. And if you go, I can't even read, I've got plenty to go. And if you go too light on that, you're not actually going to get it, it's just not going to work. The consistency is going to be out for what you want. So I am attempting to get it fairly close to the final number I want. At the same token, there is a massive glump of cream in the bottom of here, and I don't want the entire bit out. All right, if I knew it was going to be this fiddly, I would have gone down already for you guys. 154, that'll do. Close enough to 160 for my liking. All right, next, on with the lid and the measuring cup. And now it's going to warm up to 50 degrees, which is what you want to melt your chocolate on. If ever you are melting chocolate, 50 degrees is the temperature because you're not going to burn it, because if you burn it, the oils leak out of it. You end up with like a clumpy cocoa mess and this oily stuff. And it's high enough that it's still going to melt timely as well. No over the stove melting. I don't know if you remember before Thermomix days where you used to have to boil water and have a glass over the top with your chocolate in it and try and melt it without burning yourself. None of that with the Thermomix. In it goes 2 minutes, 50 degrees, speed 3, and then we're going to let it sit for 1 hour. And then I'm going to come back after that hour and show you how we dress this cake. And I'll just give you some tips around cutting, airtighting, all that sort of stuff as well. So I will see you. And actually, if you're doing this in real life, now's your time to trim your sides because you've got an hour. Okay, so then you go and you trim the sides off it and make it really neat and square. But otherwise, we will see you in 2 minutes. No, we won't see you in 2 minutes. We'll see you in 1 hour and 2 minutes to show you the final of this cake. So see you soon. Okay, welcome back. It's time to finish the cake. It's the time of reasoning. So this is what it looks like, trimmed and on a board, ready to go. Now you can see why they wanted you to make even layers, because it'll probably look prettier if you do. But anyway, let's just roll with whatever we've got. It's going to be under a layer of ganache, so it's okay. I did knock that corner down with my finger before, but anyway, let's turn it around this way so it looks pretty. So, by the way, I've tasted the mix. It's amazing. You've got a real gingerbread man cake layer and then a cheesecakey style layer in between. So it's just beautiful. It really is. And I'm imagining this ganache layer is going to take it up one step more. A couple of things with ganache. I wish I told you earlier actually. Chocolate does not like water, so make sure your bowl is super dry. Okay, I know a lot of you guys cook along to these videos, so a little FYI. The other thing is if your ganache does split, it needs a little more cream. Now the risk in adding more cream is that it won't set later, but hey, it'll still be silky smooth and amazing. It just means that you probably really want to do it as a server at the end. It's not going to really hold really well to your cake. Now the cake needs to come out of your fridge so it's cold, because then that ganache is going to sit nicer on it. So cool the ganache for 1 hour to thicken it. Trim the sides of the cake, so you had that hour to trim the sides. Place the cake on the serving platter, pour ganache over the top and swirl with a spatula and decorate as desired. Couple of tips with decorating I'm not going to show you today, but grab yourself your baking paper and cut shapes into baking paper. So it might be your stars, it might be snowflakes, it might be love hearts, and then use icing sugar. So once you cut your little shapes, use icing sugar to dust over the top in those shapes, and that will give you some beautiful patterns on top of the really dark ganache. All right, so let's wiggle this around. Let's get it so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. There we go. And let's grab this ganache out. By the way, I wouldn't recommend 90% dark unless you're accustomed to it, because it is really dark. It's not sweet at all. So I'm just going to thickly put it on top of the cake, and then we'll make it go down the sides a little bit. Actually, do they have theirs running down the sides? I can't particularly tell in the picture. I'm not sure if it's supposed to go on the top or on the sides. We'll have a look in a second. All right. By the way, we leave a little bit in there. It'll be a nice milkshake in a moment. Just looking at the picture, it looks like it just tumbles down the side, so it doesn't particularly look like it dresses down the side like a formal cake would. So I'm just going to push it out to the sides. And you do want to make it thick, otherwise it will pick up the layer. You've got to remember that last layer was an inverted layer, it's an upside down layer. So I'm just gently taking it out to the sides with the back of my spatula. And then we can have some of it tumbling down. That's why you make it on your serving platter, so that it can stay on here. The other thing for decorating it, you could have some little, these kind of things, silver sugar balls, things like that on there as well. However you want to make it festive. And I mean, the thing is as well with this cake, yes, it's quite a few steps, but actually when you see it done, it's really easy. So I hope you'll consider doing this cake, and I'd love to know what you'll think. So it's a Polish Christmas cake. If you like gingerbread and that kind of spicy flavor taste, you will adore this cake, because it's like that with a cheesecake in between. So I'm just starting to push this to the edge. As you can see, because the cake's cold, it's thick enough to stay, which is nice. It's not making a big dribbly mess. I've not lost it all down there. And then it said put little swirls on the top. So all we're going to do now is just give it swirl on the top, which just do at the back of your spatula. Just give it a couple. Try and make your swirl end nicely. And that is it. So there you go, Polish ice cream cake. Give it a go. When you do, I can't wait to hear what you think. Totally impressive, totally worth the time and effort. And actually, as much as it is a little complex, it's actually well rewarding as well. So I can't wait to see you give this a go in your Thermomix. Remember to hit the subscribe and the bell if you haven't already. Share this with your friends and family, especially if they've got a Thermomix and they like doing a little bit fancy things. I can think of a couple of you guys out there who watch along who really do enjoy the little different things, okay? They're a little bit more hands-on, they're a little bit different to what you normally make. Give this a go, because this is your cake, okay? It is beautiful. So I can't wait to hear what you think. I'm going to dust this with some hearts. I think I'm going to make some hearts out of baking paper. Get one of the kids here to hold it. You hold it above, by the way. Don't let it sit on your cake. It'll wreck your icing. Just dust it nice and lightly and it'll look beautiful. But otherwise, take care. And I hope you're enjoying these festive videos. And I can't wait to see you in the next one soon. So take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.